But for kind of entrepreneurs, apparently there's a lot of opportunities to go to these networking events. So the stuff that you mentioned, there used to be events called Tech After Dark, which was basically where everybody goes to drink and hangs out at these different co-working. Just stay on the lookout for those. There's a lot happening.
So I'm guessing if you could recommend one restaurant for me to go eat at, what would that one restaurant be?
Okay. I'm gonna put my sales hat on right now and come back to you with questions.
Okay.
So what type of food do you usually enjoy?
Um, Usually Italian food.
Italian
Yeah,
food.
usually. But here I want to
Interesting.
like eat food here, you know. Like
Okay.
I'm a big fan of how you would say the name. Like
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
I'm for anything, you know.
Okay. And do you care more about the food itself, or is it more about the experience? Like, what type of foodie are you?
Oh man, that's a good question. I guess it depends who I'm with. You know, if it's by myself, I don't care about the ambience. I just want to eat good
Okay.
food, you know.
It's okay.
Like I could be like on a chair in the middle of an alleyway
Okay.
eating good food, you know.
Okay. Okay. So maybe some other folks have already talked to you about this if you've asked this question before, but there is one. So you mentioned Italian. So there is a very good fusion Japanese Italian called Pizza 4Ps, which is very famous here. Maybe you've been. There are other fusion restaurants similar to that as well that have done well. There's one close to where I live on Fambiachan called Kakinoki, which is very good. So it's again kind of niche Japanese Italian fusion, which surprisingly go very well together. Um, Personally, I'm not a person who likes like fine dining, so I can't really advise you on that spectrum. I like to eat food that is substantial. So one of the restaurants that I discovered coming to Vietnam, so I am by no means a vegetarian or a vegan, but there is an excellent vegetarian restaurant called HUM, which is very good, um, which is a kind of Asian vegetarian food, but it is surprisingly very good. Um, what else? Where do I usually eat? It's a difficult question. That is a difficult question because there's a lot of good restaurants here. Mm,
There's definitely a lot of good food here. Like
yeah, I'm trying to think. So for pho, actually, there's a place here called Pho Hang Do that I go to in Thao Dien district, which is very good. If you want French restaurant, well, but French maybe it's not so exotic to Vietnam specifically. There is a restaurant by the river also in this district called Satsuma, which belongs to some friends, which has a very nice view of the river and landmark 81. Then there are, there are famous, more upscale restaurants. Like one is like which is like a Michelin star one, which is famous for Vietnamese
yeah,
food, but that's not really my vibe personally.
okay.
I prefer to eat at more slightly more local.
Mm. More street food, so to speak.
It doesn't have to be street food, but slightly more local places than kind of those kind of more upscale places. Like I like more authentic food. Let's put it that way.
So people don't know Ho Chi Minh City is divided like districts. I think there's 10 districts. Like district one is like the tourist area pretty much.
Mm.
We're in district two, a lot of foreigners live. So I've been like district one already, obviously district two. I've been in district four and district three. Is there a district I should go to? Like spend a
Mm.
day in?
Good question. I mean, you're right. Every districts have different aspects to them. So, for example, if you were to go to District 7, it's kind of like a mini Singapore slash. It's very modern. It's a very modern district, but it doesn't feel like Ho Chi Minh City. Um, I think in terms of, I mean, you've done most of them, to be honest. Where would I go? District 5, you can get good dim sum and Chinese food. It's quite local. I mean, you've done most of the core one.
Mhm.
District 1 is not necessarily a tourist district per se. I mean, it's the CBD, so that's where most of the bars and the restaurants will be. District 3 is where my office is. It's a mix of residential and work, but the buildings tend to be a bit more traditional in the sense of like you have these older colonial, not really colonial, but like French influenced architecture and buildings. Um, no major recommendations for districts, but I would recommend other places for you to visit in Vietnam, though, if you have the time in the future.
Definitely.
So one place I think that's very popular with Vietnamese is a town called Da Lat, which is in the mountains, which also has a lot of French influence. At the beach, there are lots of lovely places. Hoi An is a very, very touristy, but it is a very famous place, and it is nice. For me personally, I prefer to go to Hue, or Con Dao, or even Phu Quoc, which is like an island in the south of Vietnam, similar to Phuket in Thailand. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Um, so, but yeah, Vietnam has lots of beautiful places, and if I can suggest, if you know how to ride a bike, even better. Do you ride a bike?
No, not for a long time. Yeah, not for a
Okay.
long time. Yeah. So you already talked about your company some, but can you go in more detail how the company got started,
Mm,
what you focus on now, and what you see as a vision for your company?
sure. We originally started as a B2C online tutoring business. So we were in Vietnam. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Vietnamese market has a very big emphasis on learning English because they see English as the gateway to being able to travel, get a better job, go to other countries, and so on. Basically, upward mobility. So we started with that. We started with the English for kids with soft skills, and we grew that to $1 million business plus minus, but it wasn't growing as quickly as we wanted, and the unit economics of the business were could have been better. So that's why at some point we were approached by a large education group who was interested in acquiring us. This was right before and during COVID, so around 2019, 2020. And the reason they wanted to buy us was because they liked the technology that we had built. They liked that we had, a presence online because they had been historically offline. But the deal terms were not very interesting, to be honest. Essentially, they wanted to buy us using stock, and just the general terms were not great. But the epiphany that we had was that it made us realize, okay, if a company is ready to buy us for us being able to offer these things, then perhaps we are solving a bigger problem.